Hi everybody, you guys might remember this little button doll that I showed you several videos ago now. I promised you guys that if there were people who were interested in a tutorial that I would do one, and there were, so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to put together all of the parts of the doll with you guys and show you how I did it. Now I do want to say that I used to make these a long time ago, and I'm hoping that I remembered all of the steps and that you guys will find this as simple as I thought it was to make. But of course, as you go through doing this, you may find something that you like a little bit better. You know, you might make the process your own, and that is totally okay. If you find something that works and you want to leave a comment down below and share it with everybody, feel free. Or if you want to do a video and show us yours when you're done making them, that would be great too. The way I'm going to do this tutorial is I'm going to start off by showing you all of the supplies that you're going to need. Then I'll show you some of the prep work that I do. And then after that, we'll put all of the pieces together and finish up our doll. This may end up being 2 videos. I'm not quite sure yet because this does have quite a few little pieces, although it's pretty simple to put together. And we'll just kind of, see how it goes. So if you guys are interested, then stay tuned because the next part's going to be all about the supplies. Thanks. Okay guys, I am back to go over all the supplies you're going to need to make the little button doll if you want to. You're going to need the doll body. I actually found these at Michael's, 2 of them in a pack, or I believe $1.99. And I like this particular doll body because it does have a flat bottom, and I like my dolls to be made to where they can sit up on a shelf if you want them to, like a little cute knick-knack. So that's why I like this particular doll body. I also buy little doll hats. This particular hat is 1.5 inches in diameter. I used to be able to get these at Joann's. My Joann's in Alaska did not have them, so I bought them online, and I just did a Google search for doll parts or something like that and found a variety of options. And I also online had to buy the doll hair because, again, my Joann's didn't carry it, but yours might. This particular doll hair was $2.47. Might have even been cheaper if I got it on sale. But again, I just found it at the same place that I got the hats. I like to use spools on my arms and legs, so I picked up a little set of those at Michael's. I believe they were, again, around $2. The spool that I used is 1 inch by 1/2 inch by 5/8 of an inch. So that's what these are. That works out pretty well for the size of the doll that I make. To put the legs together and the arms together, I actually use dental floss. You could use embroidery floss or something else. This was just the way I was taught to do it. I don't know the real reason for it, but just because it's habit, and I still had some of this, I'm using that dental floss. If you don't sew, like I don't sew, then you're also going to need to buy some fabric because you probably don't have any just hanging around. So what I do is at Joann's, I buy the fabric quarters. You can get them in a variety of colors, or of course you can buy it, buy a 1/4 yard or however much fabric you want. I also like to decorate the little spools here with embroidery floss. So if you don't have some laying around, then you're going to want to buy some embroidery floss that coordinates with your fabric. And you'll also need some kind of a needle, just for a little bit, because we're going to do a running stitch around the neck of this dress to get it attached. And you will, of course, need a hot glue gun or some type of glue. Now, I am not a fan of a glue gun. You guys know that. If you've been watching my videos, glue guns are not my friend. They typically almost always end up burning me through my own klutzy behavior. But I will be using a glue gun to make this doll because it's quicker. And then, of course, because it is a button doll, you're going to need buttons. So that means that I bring out, and I'm going to pull back my camera a little bit so you can see this. This is my jar of buttons. I'm sorry you can see a little bit of my camera in there, but these are my buttons. These are not my vintage buttons. I have a small collection of vintage buttons, but these are all of the buttons that people have given me or I have bought. And so I go through and search for buttons that are going to work for the button doll. So I think that's pretty much all of the supplies that you're going to need. Oh, and you will need some sort of paint to paint your doll body, because you can see, hopefully, she's slightly darker than this wood color. So you'll need some paint for that and a little bit of paint for the face. And I just used your basic acrylic paint. And of course, because you're painting, you're going to want to have some sort of foam brush or paintbrush to do that. So I believe that's all the supplies. And if I have forgotten about anything, we will definitely find it out when we put all the parts together. So I will be back next with kind of doing some of the prep work and getting all the pieces ready to go to put together and make the little doll. So thanks for watching so far, guys. Bye. Hi guys, I'm back to go over the various parts that I put together for the button doll before I assemble the whole thing. And I did film a lot of these parts, how I do it, but it made the video really long. So I'm going to just try and walk you through the parts. And if you have any questions about it, then just let me know. But I think it's pretty simple and you guys should probably be okay with me just giving you some directions. So the first thing I do for the button doll is paint the body. And I take, one of the unpainted dolls or doll body, and I use a flesh colored paint on it. I just paint it with a foam brush. You can see there's a very slight difference, just gives it a little bit of a smoother finish. But you could use, obviously leave yours unpainted or pick a different color, whatever, color of skin you want your little button doll to have. Then I paint on a really simple face, as you can see. I don't do anything fancy because I'm not a traditional artist in any way. Meaning I can't paint really well. So I take some acrylic paint and I find a thin paintbrush and I dab this end here in the black paint that I'm using, and that's what I dabbed on for the eyes. And then I take the thin end, as you can see it's a really small one, and I put a little bit of red acrylic paint on there and just paint the smile. You could use markers or something else, whatever you want, but that's how I do mine. So then I set that aside and let it dry. While that's drying, I move on to the little spools. And what I like to do is I like to take these spools and I like to wrap the embroidery floss around the spools before I use them for the arms and legs. And I do that just by putting a little bit of glossy accent up here. I just keep winding the floss all the way around it until it's completely covered, and then up at the top here when it's going to end, I put a little bit more of the glossy accents, kind of smooth it down and hold it in place. And you can see, for example, right here, it's not anything fancy. I don't want these to look perfect. I want them to look, kind of rustic, kind of like a little country craft type thing. And so that way I don't really worry about some of the details. So once that has a little bit of time to dry so that I know that the thread's going to stay, then I line up all my buttons and I put the arms and legs together. And I literally go through my buttons and I make sure that they're the same for each part. So all of the buttons, for example, on both of the legs are the same. They're identical. They match. And all of the buttons on the legs match. And then I take the dental floss and line them all up and get them all strung on the dental floss, like I'm trying to finish up this one here. And of course doesn't want to cooperate. And I'll show you in just a second what I mean by that they're all the same, because I know until you guys see it, sometimes it's not always easy to understand. But basically my OCD kicks in, and so for example, these are the arms, and they have the same 3 buttons on the bottom, then the spool, and then the 2 blue on top. And then the legs are the same as well, in that they have the same brown button on the bottom, a blue button, and then the white buttons, the spool, and then the white button, so they're identical. Now when I do mine, I always put a dark button on the bottom of the legs, dark, brown or black, that kind of thing, because, I kind of think of them as little doll shoes. You can see on this one, there's some black ones. When I was doing this, I didn't want to use a ton of blue because the fabric I'm using has a lot of blue in it, but I did put one little one down there, kind of like maybe the sock color or something like that. I know it's a little weird, but that's what I was thinking. So I now have the arms and the legs done and the doll body. So then the other thing that I need to prep would be the dress itself. And so the easiest way that I can tell you to do this, because I don't really do a pattern, is I take a piece of fabric and I fold it about in half, okay? And I take pinking shears, and I just kind of imagine what this little dress is going to look like, because I'm going to gather it at the top and just kind of pull around with a running stitch and some hot glue to hold it in place. So I do it this way so that I get the same like symmetrical look to the dress. And basically I just cut it almost in kind of a half circle type thing. And of course it kind of depends on how big and fluffy you want your dress to be. This one wouldn't be too big and fluffy, but then I also cut on the top like so, so they all have the nice little pinking edge to it, whatever you want to call that. And I take out a little bit for the head or the neck, and I have something that looks like this. Now this is obviously a really bad example because that's huge, but normally what I do is I get one that is really well and I play around with it a little bit like this, and then I can see that it's going to fit around pretty nicely. And once I have one pattern that works, I keep it and I use it for several dresses. And then I take a needle and that dental floss and just do a little running stitch up at the top. And that's how I'm actually going to wind it around the little doll body in the future. And I'm going to cover up this running stitch with some embellishments, so it doesn't really matter if it's shown. For those of you who can sew and stitch, you might do it a little bit differently, but that's how I do it. And that would mean that pretty much all of my parts are ready to go. I have the arms and legs, the doll body, and the dress. And I think we're going to stop there so that I can start kind of putting this together, and then you guys can see what it's going to look like. I'll be back. Bye guys.